Okay, in this video we'll be talking about how to set up version control within the PlantinApp system. You can see more information about this on learn.plantinapp.com in our documentation section. Open configuration and look for version control. Today we'll be covering the software as a service or hosted version of version control. In order to use this, you're going to need a Git or GitHub account. I'm going to be using mine here, and we'll see that what we need is the Git URL, the Git username, and the Git personal access token. So first we'll start by creating a new repository. And the repository that I'm going to create is my version control repo. I'm going to choose to make it private and create it. After you've created it, you can use the URL at the top. That's the URL that's necessary in the version control. So we'll go to configuration and version control. And in this first time setup, it will prompt. So we'll place the URL here. And then we also need the username, which is this section of the URL. This is my Git user ID, and I'll paste it here. And then finally we need the personal access token. We'll go back to Git and create it. Go to the settings and scroll down and look for developer settings. And in personal access token, pick tokens classic. We'll generate a new token of token classic. And we'll make a note for what it's for. We'll leave the expiration to 30 days and give it the scope of repo and generate token. That's all there is to it. Now we have access to the token, so we'll copy it. And paste it into the personal access token. Now we submit. So now we're successfully connected to Git, and the first time you'll want to do a initialize, which will send the current changes within version control, commit them to the Git repository. And so now we see that those are committed. If we take a look within the repository, and we'll navigate to it, we'll be able to take a look at the files. We'll look on the production branch, and we can see the structure. Notice that within entities system, these are the ones that come pre-built within a PlantinApp system, but there's only system entities here. In a minute we'll add another entity and show that it gets pushed into the repository. So we go to entities and we'll create a customer entity. We'll give it only one property, the name. And we'll select that as the display name and save. So this automatically creates a number of things, and as including the table and the form, the data entry form, the listing, all the different components of an entity, also the various API endpoints. After they're created, we can take a look and see what's been created for us on the site. So we go to Customers, and we have the ability to add a new customer. We'll add a sample client and see that it's showing in the listing. So the functionality is there. Notice that we have 15 changes in version control, and so now we'll go about the process of committing them to the repository. These are all the changes that were done. We see that we've created a customer page, the detail, the header, customer listing, the form, all the API methods. So we're going, and then finally the entity. So what we're going to do is select all of these and say that they are included in this commit. So we'll include these selected. So now we see them over in the included in, and at the bottom we can find the commit changes button. When we choose that, it's going to ask us for the information necessary for the commit. Including the title and the description. So we'll describe that we are creating the customer entity and the related elements, and commit. These will now be sent to the Git repository, and they were successful. So if we go back to the Git repository and refresh, we can now see we have some content here in entities in the default namespace, including the JSON for the definition of customer. We can also take a look at some other things like the APIs that were created. So we see the customer get, post, put. And we can see the pages that were created, including the customer's page. And all the individual modules that were placed on the customer's page. So going back to the documentation, we walked through each one of these pieces. We put in the initial setup and initialized, and then shows how to the words on how to go about committing to the repository. Notice that each commit has its own ID, and in this case we can take a look at the details, and this is the commit ending in B434. If we look in the Git repository, we can also find that commit. We look at the commits. And we can see the B434 commit and all the content that was part of that, giving you full audit of what was committed. So that's the basics, how to get it set up and how to commit to the repository.